Hello, everybody, and welcome to the most broken strategy in Kingdoms Reborn. This is a strategy that will get you tons of money very early in the game. It's a strategy that will effectively make 90% of the buildings that exist in the game completely useless to you, just because you have a more efficient way of doing everything. And this is a strategy that you can pull off with very, very few people. Like, this is a city with 159 people, but I'm only employing 34 of them. Everyone else is just kind of paid to sit around. So how does this work? What's going on here? Why are there so many sheep? Let me explain. So the single most important modifier you can get in Kingdoms Reborn is something called trade fee reduction. So the way that trading works in this game is every single time you sell a good, you pay a 35% tax. Then, if you want to take that money and turn around and buy a good, you pay another 35% tax. Now, the reason this exists is because it is, by and large, for most cities, it makes a lot more sense to produce things at home, right? Because importing and exporting is expensive, so that's the reason why you build all the different types of buildings and you produce all the different type of stuff to make this game work. However, if you play the Emirates, which I'm playing right here, you can reduce this fee by 20%, just as their natural bonus, so you only pay 15% to import and export. Then, if you import or export 10,000 gold worth of goods, which is actually pretty easy to get done in the first few years of the game, you get this card, Companies Act, which reduces trade fees for every trade company that you have. So you combine these two, and you start, spamming out some trade companies, and you get this fee down to 0. So why do you care about this, fee getting to 0? What happens? How can you really kind of abuse this thing to power up your city and make a lot of money? Well, once you get your fee to 0, you're no longer really playing like a medieval city builder game. You're effectively just running a corporation because you no longer care about what you're producing. You only care about maximizing profit because you can just turn around and sell and buy anything you want for no downside, as long as you have the money. So once I kind of realized this and put this thing together, I went on a bit of a treasure hunt to find how to make the most amount of money you possibly can per person in this game. And what I realized is, by and large, buildings charcoal burners, bakeries, things like that, are not that efficient. You need a lot of people to run them. It takes a long time for a batch to be complete. They have imports that you would need to buy or somehow get in order to get your exports. They're not a great way of making money. Farms are much better, mostly because there's no inputs. People just the seeds magically appear, right? But even more powerful than farms, 2 to 3 times more powerful than farms, are these things right here, sheep ranches. Now, sheep ranches are kind of broken in this game. They produce a stupid amount of wool, a stupid amount of lamb. They're super powerful. When I sat down and I just watched sheep ranches for a long time, they're very inconsistent in what they produce. This one has, producing a ton. This one over here is producing a lot less, even though they have the exact same efficiency. They're very inconsistent, but if you have a lot of them, you can kind of get consistency going. And I sat here and just watched them for years and years and just counted up how much they're producing, what's going on. And what I realized is a sheep farm or a sheep ranch at 100% efficiency is producing roughly 2,800 gold worth of goods every single year. Now, if you drop yourself on a grassland like I did, you start stacking bonuses. This one's up to 260%. So this sheep ranch effectively is producing over 6,000 gold for my city every single year. A lot of that is getting kind of eaten up, right? Because my people need to eat. But these 18 sheep ranches that I have here are, one, feeding my entire population of 159, right? Almost perfectly. And are currently producing over 30,000 gold per year for my city just by existing off 18 population, right? That is completely broken. It is 100% the most powerful building in the game. The only building that comes close to it is the pig ranch, which is also super powerful and broken. It's just not quite as broken because the pork that you produce is just can't sell it for quite as much as wool. Now, even if you sell this wool, you can see the price dropping here from the wool. It will never drop too far. It'll never get really low. You can keep kind of doing this for the rest of the game. Just keep selling this wool, and you'll just keep making gobs and gobs and gobs of money that you can do whatever you want with, right? So I wanted to increase my science production, so I just bought all the pottery I possibly needed. I threw down this homebrew card. Boom, I have a ton of science, right? I wanted to level up my houses again because I wanted to research enlightenment, so I just bought tons of tulips, right? Now I have 20,000 gold to do with what I want. I'll probably buy more luxuries and go like that. This strategy is for sure the most powerful thing I've ever come across in this game. If you guys know anything more powerful, I'd love to hear it. But I think this is kind of the meta game in terms of just building the most powerful city the fastest, right? If you're in a multiplayer game, you can just drown anyone in like units because you're just gonna have way more money than everyone else if you just mass spam sheep ranches, and then get your trading fee down to 0 and then just buy whatever you want when you want it. The one kind of issue is as you get further into the game, especially on higher difficulty levels, you need to make sure to keep your city as condensed as possible or you run into logistical issues. And these sheep ranches are obviously very, very large. They only require 1 worker, which is great. But the problem is you can't, there's a kind of like a soft cap on how many of these you can build before your city just becomes too big. So eventually you'll need to move into something that is less efficient, but takes up a lot less space, which is farms. You can just mass put it down farms and produce something like medicinal herbs or cannabis or all of these resources like cocoa, or coffee. All of them can be sold for like a lot if you just mass farm them and then just like sell them with your trading companies. Obviously, you'd want to stack up all the bonuses. You can get this efficiency for farms over 200 with things like granaries and all the different like random bonuses you can find in the upgrades tree for your farming. And then eventually, when your population gets super super high, so much so that you like kind of run out of spots to put farms, you'll probably need to resort to mass charcoal burners or mass bakeries, effectively just purchasing the inputs and then just selling the outputs, and pocketing the profit, just because they're just massive. You can fit a lot more population into those buildings. They're a lot smaller. It's easier to just kind of put your population to work, so you don't end up in my current situation where I have 159 people. Well, I guess 122 adults and only 34 people actually working. Though even here on, this is brutal difficulty, by the way. It's not like normal or anything, though this obviously will work on normal, work on easy. It'll work all the way up to deity just because it's so pop efficient, it's so money efficient, it's so food efficient. It will just kind of outpace everything. And really, I don't think there's much else to say about this strategy. It effectively, as I said, makes the vast majority of buildings like worthless, right? Like, why would you build a stone tool shop or iron smelter or blacksmith when you can just buy iron tools with all of your money? I was kind of showing this to some friends and they were asking, well, are you going to take all this wool and produce, clothes from it with your tailor? And the thing is a tailor has 7, like it requires 7 workers. And it is so much more efficient to just have 7 sheep farms and just buy, like sell the wool and buy like the clothes than it is to put down like 1 tailor, right? And so you really are just with this strategy, you're just going to outpace any sort of other buildings in the game. And you can just kind of sit over here on this screen and just play like spreadsheet simulator and watch the numbers go up, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's the most fun way to play the game. It's certainly fun if you're a multiplayer and you're just richer than everyone else and you can just kind of like invade people. But yeah, I thought I'd show this off. It'll hopefully get patched out at some point. I'd like to see some sort of like minimum trade fee or something. But currently, I think this is probably the most meta, optimal way to play the game. I struggle to find anything that's more like efficient than this. Maybe there's like some bug you can exploit or something, or maybe there's a building that I'm missing that produces like tons of money. I know something like the carpet weaver potentially could produce a lot of money. I haven't sat down and tested it, but especially early game, just mass producing sheep ranches. Maybe not year 1 because it takes a while to get your sheep ranches like actually producing things. But once you start maxing your sheep ranches and you produce like 30,000 gold per year just from selling wool, and you're feeding your entire population with 18 sheep ranches, like nothing really comes close. So yeah, if you like this video or if you want to see future Kingdoms Reborn guides, I also have created a lot of guides on this channel. Make sure to subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments, or if you have any like suggestions, or if there's something you think is even more broken or more efficient. I'd love to hear it. And I will catch you in another video.